The lead story for Thursday, March 13th, is where I'm going to break down the biggest stories in tech and AI. Today, I'm diving into OpenAI's latest push for influence in Washington with the current campaign. With President Trump revoking Biden's AI executive order, OpenAI is making its case for light regulations, copyright flexibility, and a stronger U.S. stance against Chinese AI competition. I'm going to explore what this means for the future of AI development, government partnerships, and of course, the ongoing legal battles over AI training data. Everyone, welcome to the show. And we'll get into the induction here in a few minutes. But, this lead story where OpenAI is urging the administration to remove guardrails for the industry is quite amazing, and they feel they have favor. But I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to absolutely scream bloody murder over this proposal. Now they're not the only ones that have submitted. This has come from a host of AI companies, but they've called for a copyright strategy that promotes freedom to learn. And they're invoking this for preserving American AI models' ability to learn from copyrighted materials. I think we know already that the Chinese have no such constraints. They can train on copyrighted materials, and there's not a lot of recourse for companies against Chinese state companies. It's just not going to happen. And this proposal to the U.S. government obviously is emphasizing the need for speed in AI advancement. And again, they're asking for a light hand from regulations. And they're also talking about the dangers of AI coming out of China. I think we can fully be aware here that AI coming out of China is going to continue to advance. And I'm, those of you that have used DeepSeek, I think you use at your own risk in that regard, based upon everything I know about the Chinese government. But we know that when the president threw out the AI executive order that President Biden signed in 2023, which is titled Safe, Secure, and Trustworthy, and the subsequent issuing a new executive order declaring that it is a policy of the United States to sustain and enhance America's global AI dominance, which I think is important. I think we need to be there. He mandated that a AI action plan be submitted within 180 days. So, OpenAI's been close to, basically getting some more funding. There's been found some weakness, obviously, with DeepSeek coming out, and how much training data is really needed. But OpenAI at the same time is buttering up states, saying, "Hey, we're gonna build data centers in 16 different states." But in its proposal, OpenAI expressed a distaste for the current level of regulation in AI, calling for the freedom to innovate. I've been using AI a lot. It's been evolutionary for stuff that I've done for a while, and I understand what they want here. So time will tell how this is going to play out. But the company said its recommendations could allow new AI service to be accessed by government roughly 12 months earlier than the current processes. But experts have expressed concerns that speedy government adoption of AI comes at the potential of safety, which is true because, what you're putting in with government information definitely needs to be siloed. But I could see in some instances writing proposals, government contracts, analysis, some of this is good. Nothing against government workers. There's some great ones out there, but in some instances, some of the stuff that's done is kind of redundant work. But this is an interesting move by OpenAI, and I think the biggest controversy on this is going to come from the discussion of, using copyrighted material. Um, time will tell. Time will tell. Hey, but I want to welcome you to episode 1806. Of course, I'm your host, Todd Cochran. And a shout out to our incredible sponsor, GoDaddy. And score deals and discounts at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. And to all of our listeners, you're the real heartbeat of this show. And if you want to support GNC, head over to geeknewscentral.com/insider and become a GNC insider. We're lit and live, or live and lit. We've got our cable fixed. Don't just listen, experience the show live by grabbing a modern podcast app at podcastapps.com. You can interact in real time, sending a boost to the show. We'll be talking about those boosts that have come in a little bit. But of course, you want to check out the full Geek News Central universe at geeknewscentral.com. And you're going to find all of our partner shows and tons of new content. That includes the GNC Week in Review, the Gadget Professor, and so forth. So definitely get over to geeknewscentral.com. Follow or subscribe to your favorite podcast app. And of course, sign up for the newsletter. And we want you to stay in the loop. So don't forget, again, signing up for the newsletter is real important. We've been sending that out. And of course, you can join the conversation at geeknews.chat. You can email me directly at geeknews@gmail.com, and you can hit me up on X at Geek News. This show would not be possible largely without our sponsor, GoDaddy. And we want to thank GoDaddy. Get exclusive savings right now at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy with our GoDaddy promo codes. Let's start with a website or a podcast. That's two great ways to get started. GNC codes make it easy and affordable. Grab GoDaddy's economy hosting for just $6.99 a month. Again, that's a full year of hosting. $6.99 a month. That's a full year of hosting with a free domain name, professional email, and SSL certificate. And of course, if you're interested in WordPress, which is my favorite, WordPress managed hosting is just $12.99 a month, which includes a free domain, professional email, and again, that SSL certificate at $12.99 a month. Of course, you can get a domain name for just $11.99, and the GoDaddy website builder is a 30-day free trial of personal business or business plus plans. I do use all of my GoDaddy products and services. My annual GoDaddy bill is pretty big just on domain names alone, and your support keeps this podcast going and alive. So use my promo codes, click and save, or copy the codes. And again, you're back in an independent team of creators. Share my codes or website links with friends and family, because every time you use one of my codes, it's just like sending a cash donation to the show. So I want to thank all of you for your ongoing support of GoDaddy. Hey, the studio, again, cable came in. I got some feedback on the last show. We're going to move the laptop up about 4 inches. That will help with height of view on a few things. So that's on its way, a lift desk for this. And I really, Tuesday, I was down for the count. Just all of a sudden, the back just went, and I could not navigate for about 20 hours. So I'm back. The back is good. But one thing I've kind of found working nights, and maybe some of you that work nights already know this, you save a lot of money. There's no reason to go shopping. You get, if you work all night, you sleep half the day. You get up, you make food, you eat, and you rinse, wash, repeat. Kind of a, it's here it's exciting. I'm overseas, but I didn't leave the room for like 2.5 days. So yeah, kind of weird, but the weather's here beautiful. I got a little bit of sun last weekend, and I'll try to get a little bit more this weekend. But hey, let's get into the rest of the stack here. I got a good lineup of stuff. Big news, really Gemini is on the move, and it's something. How many of you have been playing with Gemini? I have not, but I saw this headline talking about Gemini can now personalize search based on your search history. I thought, if you enable personalization, Gemini will reference your search history to enhance some of its responses. And I thought, do I really want this? The feature, powered by Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking experimental model, and it will only reference your search results if its AI model finds it helpful. For instance, if you ask Gemini about a restaurant or travel recommendations, the chatbot will refer to your recent food-related searches to provide suggestions. And I'm not doing a lot of food searches on Google per se. I use different apps. So it'll be curious to see how this works. And again, this is part of a broader personalization feature that they're rolling out. But I do have a little bit of concern in using your search history. And I've always said that Google knows more about you than probably your family members do. So having that all that data being used in the AI, yeah, I don't I see a problem there. I really do. I'm gonna have to look into this deeper. I think I would be very, very hesitant because I'm often doing searches on competitors. I'm doing looks at different things. And do I really want the software to do that? I don't know. What say you? What's your opinion? Geeknews at gmail.com. At the same time, OpenAI talked about changes to the policy here in the United States. They've called DeepSeek a state controlled and calls for bans on PRC product models. This is pretty bold. Um, OpenAI described Chinese AI DeepSeek as a state subsidized and state controlled and recommends the U.S. government considers banning models from the outfit and similar People's Republic of China supported operations. The proposal, a part of the submission, I guess, of this AI action plan, claims DeepSeek model, including its R1 reasoning model, are insecure because DeepSeek faces requirements under Chinese law to comply here with their ability to uh, look at user data. And part of their terms of service says they will use your user data. So they may be on to something there as well. Kind of got these out of order. Gemini Deep Research is also free now for everyone. So give it a try. Again, the research tool is getting huge upgrade to 2.0 Flash. It will be now better at reasoning, and it's now free for everyone, with advanced users getting expanded access. So that's available. Should have had that linked up a little better. Thought I did. Microsoft at the same time is facing FTC antitrust probe over AI and licensing practices, and this could really shape up the AI competition. We know that Google's also facing some antitrust stuff and potentially losing Chrome and maybe even Android at some point. But a lot of consolidation here. So they're reportedly pressing ahead with this antitrust investigation into Microsoft. As part of the probe, the FTC has issued a civil investigative demand requiring Microsoft to disclose extensive data on its AI operations, including costs of acquiring data and training model data back to 2016. So this is more impact where say, hey, you might have to go alone. So we'll see. We'll see where this leads. Adobe today got hammered in the stock market, and I'm a big Adobe fan. I use Adobe products heavily. We're integrated at Blueberry with Adobe Podcast, Adobe Express Premium. So I just don't believe that Adobe is going to is going to become that irrelevant. There's still this huge need for their tools, but there's worries that in recent months that the company is falling behind in some competitors and losing its advantage on AI. Um, I think this is curious. The company's annualized recurring revenue from AI contributed to 125 million during the period. It expects that number to increase, but an analyst at Morgan Stanley said that new disclosures of Gen AI contribution is a step in the right direction, but that most investors need to see a clear roadmap at the company's investor meeting. So Bernstein's Mark Mueller, recommending buying on the stock, wrote in a report that believed that Adobe is an AI winner and that AI is not replacing existing revenue streams. I would agree, but boy, they definitely got whacked. They had ingested earnings of $5.08 per share at $5.71 billion in revenue, and they did estimate only 5.71 or 497 in earnings. So they did better than what the estimate was. So I guess that adjusted earnings per share might have been the impact. I don't know. Seems a little odd to me. So, as Zuckerberg promised, Community Notes is coming to Facebook. So, testing begins on Community Notes in Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. So, if you're one to want to provide feedback and say this is not true, they said we will shortly begin testing Community Notes across Facebook. We expect Community Notes to be less biased than the third-party fact-checking program it replaces because it allows more people with more perspectives to add context, and notes won't appear publicly initially as they take time to ensure the system is working properly. They've got about 200,000 potential contributors and that have signed up. So that tells you people got a lot of time to volunteer to help Facebook. 200,000 people have said, I'll help. Here, me. They're already getting enough stuff. They can pay some people to do this. So again, testing begins. For a first, a man has survived 100 days with a titanium heart. This Australian man in his 40s has become the first person to leave the hospital with an artificial heart made of titanium. The device was used as a stopgap measure for basically his heart. A heart donor was not available. He went about 100 days on the artificial heart before he was able to go back in and get a donor heart. This is the Australian is the sixth person globally to receive the device known as Bivacor, but the first to live with it for more than a month. So the odds of being on this thing are not great. One thing about IT is I have always told my team if something is bad news, I want to hear about it right away, immediately. I don't want to find about it a week later. I want to know. We'll make the adjustment. But there's a lot of people scared out there. 40% of IT leaders are scared to admit mistakes due to workplace culture or fear. 2 in 5 are scared to admit a mistake, and men are more fearful. German and U.S. better than UK for IT leaders. And this to me is, this is not good. With cybersecurity the way it is, moving fast, and things are changing quickly, we need to make sure that our IT people feel free to come and say, hey, there's an issue. Whether it was self-induced or not, it's really, really, workplace culture of fear is not good. And with all these new tools coming out, there's going to be a lot more availability to find stuff. We're all not perfect. That is for sure. Meta is worrying of a security flaw hitting open source type software. FreeType has carried a flaw that allowed remote code execution. So if you work with a dev team and that word FreeType sounds familiar to you, make sure you tell your team. I don't recognize it, to be honest with you. I sent it over to my dev team and said, hey, are we using this? Here's a heads up. So of course, they're all, it's late on the East Coast, so they probably will not see it tomorrow morning, which is okay. But hey, shifting the topic here a little bit, iPhone 17 Pro Max and are really, on the horizon here, and it's the latest, greatest thing. It's hard to believe we're up to iPhone 17 already, really, if you think about that. But there's some rumors out there. What will the new iPhone 17 lineup look like? It's the iPhone 17 Airs to match Apple's Ultra Laptop designation, and open source that's giving out intel that the iPhone 17 Air will be equipped with a basic A19 chip and will only have a single camera. So very light model. Of course, there's going to be improved cameras and all kinds of other stuff, but the iPhone 17 Air seems to be the one that most people are talking about. Of course, iOS 19, that a redesigned camera app. Of course, they already really screwed up the picture app. might point to more drastic changes for the operating system. Early in March, Bloomberg also backed the assertion that an iOS overhaul is in the works. There hasn't been a notable overhaul of iOS for several generations here, and it could be exciting to see Apple pushing the envelope here. Time will tell. So, we'll all just wait for the next iteration of the iPhone. Microsoft is warning folks about a new phishing campaign impersonating Booking.com. So if you get an email, if you order stuff through Booking.com or have experience with them or don't, be very, very careful out there. Okay. And as this show evolves, and we are providing you, I feel, great information and things to think about, I want you to consider becoming a Geek News Central insider at geeknewscentral.com/insider. And we want to thank James Fletcher for his $2 sustaining donation, Nigel Cottrell and Dale Taylor, both for their $25 monthly Alahi or chief donation. We definitely appreciate their long-term ongoing support for the show. And we did have some sats come in. 2,202 sats came in from Darren Schwartz. He says, Dodge for the win. Anyone paying taxes should be furious. Our tax dollars have been spent. And maybe I covered that one already, but we've also had streaming sats where folks are streaming the show at between 50 and 100 sats per minute, and including even some folks that actually came in at 400 sats a minute. So bravo to those of you that were streaming sats like that. We definitely appreciate you doing so. And if anyone is sending any boost or anything and they're having any challenges, make sure you let me know. Definitely go over to geeknewscentral.com/insider. That's where you can make us a one-time PayPal donation. And those really help. They really do. They go a long ways. Anytime we get a one-time donation, if you're not on the monthlies, we definitely appreciate that as well. But again, consider becoming an insider here. Google Messages just fixed some serious issues with receiving photos and videos. So I did not know there was an issue, but apparently some of you have been having problems with pictures being sent. So, and they're slow to load. They show up blurry for a minute before the actual user can actually open them. I've seen that with iOS as well. So I don't think this is anything that is completely limited to Google, but you may see an update there. Meghan Markle's new Netflix show, well, they don't have nice things to say about it. Meghan Markle's new Netflix series with Love Meghan has been met with criticism from podcast host Kinsey Schofield. In an interview with Fox News Digital, Schofield accused Markle of being self-consumed and tone-deaf on the show. Schofield pointed out Marco's interaction with guest Mindy Kaling, saying, "You're standing next to Mindy Kaling and you're not asking her how she built her girl boss empire." It's true. So I haven't followed a lot of stuff on Netflix in a while. Are you watching on anything on Netflix that should get my attention? I definitely appreciate it. Google is, they're not happy. They're asking Utah as a governor to veto the state's App Store age verification bill. The company says the law poses real privacy and safety risk to children. Really? No, it doesn't. It doesn't add privacy and safety risks. Here's the thing. You guys should do that. Apple is big on privacy. And why isn't Google? So, no, I don't think this should be vetoed. I think this is one that should go through. I think all states should adopt it, to be honest with you. Meta's trying to stop a former employee from promoting her book about Facebook. Wow, you think about that. Sarah Wynne Williams has resurfaced details about Mark Zuckerberg's attempts to bring Facebook to China, and we talked about that on the last show. But they don't want this book to come out. He notched an early victory in its attempt to halt a surprise tell-all memoir from a former policy executive. An arbitrator sided with the social media company, saying that the book's author should stop selling and publicizing the book, which went on sale earlier this week. It's already out there. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. The drama stems from Careless People, new book, and Facebook fired her in 2007, described by its publisher as an explosive insider account, revealing some new details about Zuckerberg's push to bring Facebook to China a decade ago. She also alleges that Meta's current policy chief, Joe Kaplan, acted inappropriately and reveals embarrassing details about Zuckerberg's awkward encounters with world leaders. Well, Zuck is a techie. He's a nerd. He's a bit of geeky, so I'm sure there's going to be some awkward moments. Doesn't say that, anything that Facebook is doing, everything Facebook is doing is horrible, but a lot of it is. Um, but part of my when I stopped working for the government, I made an agreement that if I was ever going to write a book about my job, it would have to go through governmental review. That it applies until I die. Now, I'm not in any mood to write a book about my job. It'd be fun to tell the stories, but 90% of it would be redacted with a big black pen. So, part of your agreement with employers may require this type of um, an agreement. I don't know if this happens in the civilian world or not, but definitely in government it happens. But definitely Facebook is trying to get this shut down. Printers apparently are spitting out nonsense after a borked Windows update. So, someday we'll be able to get rid of printers completely. But this time it's 100% the fault of Windows and Microsoft. And Microsoft issued an alert that a preview under his Windows 10 and 11 sent out on January 29th was causing some printers to randomly print a string of unintelligible text, starting with post, blah, 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 and continuing with more, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so in other words, it just prints junk, and it's a driver issue. So did they get it fixed? Yeah, they haven't fixed it yet. So that's the risk of running beta stuff and early releases. You may end up with something that is that's bad. We wear a lot of wearables. Either you're wearing a Fitbit or an Apple Watch. They're real good at telling you your heartbeat and a fib now and all these things that they've been approved for. But blood pressure tracking could be the next big thing on a future Fitbit device. That is exciting, to be honest with you. Patent details are leaked, hinting at a non-invasive way to do this. So Fitbit's previous patent to measure the same metric was rejected, and the company has not given up. The company wants to achieve a non-invasive way to measure blood pressure, which could achieve if the said wearable would carry both pressure and optical sensors. Knowing what your blood pressure is on a day-to-day basis and knowing when it's super high is important. It really is. It allows you to have the ability to say, okay, what am I doing that's causing me stress? Did I drink too much last night? Did I not drink enough water? Am I having a panic attack? Do I have anxiety? And it gives you the option to breathe and think a little bit. I recently, when I was back in Michigan, I went to VA and had a checkup, and I was running a little bit late, so I huffed and puffed and kind of ran a little. Didn't run, but I fast paced a lot faster to the office, and I was only in there 2 or 3 minutes, and they rushed me in to get my blood pressure, and of course my blood pressure was up, and I said, hey, just give me 5 minutes. I was kind of coming in here in a hurry. I said, let's retake it in 5 minutes and see where it's at. In 5 minutes, everything was fine. So, yeah, I still need to walk more. Thousands of iOS apps found expose user data and leak Stripe keys. So security researchers at Cybernews found thousands of iOS apps with hard-coded secrets. The majority of the secrets can be disregarded as low sensitivity, but again, just weak code. 156,000 iOS apps discovered more than 815,000 hard-coded secrets, thousands of which were very sensitive, included directly to breaches or data leaks. A secret is a broad term that includes things like API keys, passwords, or encryption keys. Being hard coded means the developers added these things directly in the source code. The general consensus is that they do it since it's convenient and often just forget to remove the secret once an app goes live and puts in the appropriate hashes. So if you're having someone build an app for you and you're tied to Stripe, you may want to ask that question. T-Mobile's raising rates today for more legacy customers. You could see a $5 increase. Look for that email to come across. And Sonos is in the news for more misses. Sonos is said to nix a streaming box that could have rivaled Apple. I don't know. Sonos has become kind of my love-hate company at this point. And but they this that botched app makeover that caused top leadership changes. But they announced that they missed this streaming device. The company's interim chief had reported to employees that the plans for the streaming device are not on the company's roadmap for now. The doomed device would have served perks such as content aggregation from different streaming platforms, as well as granular universal search. So I think we all know sitting in front of the TV is not necessarily healthy for us. And, getting up and moving, but they saying just a change, one change of watching 1 hour less of TV a day is good for our hearts. And, we can kind of understand why. I think any less sedentary sitting on a couch type activity is good for you. The average American spends 5 hours each day watching content on television. A lot of it is now on YouTube. And of course, we're on a bed or sofa. I take it a habit now to watch TV sometimes in a chair, a sitting up chair versus, because I get on a couch and immediately I want to lay down. Um, don't be afraid to change your game plan up here a little bit. There's a new VPN service out there called NIM VPN. They claim to be the world's most secure VPN. The VPN provider promised to protect against AI-driven surveillance and advanced censorship. NIM VPN is officially entering the market and making big claims. It's available for iOS, Android, macOS, Linux, and desktop. What's it going to cost you? Does it say? They say they're an untraceable VPN, and they have an example of how they're untraceable. I don't know. I just I think VPNs. If someone really wants to find out about you, it's more about protection of data. But if someone's trying to track you down, I just don't think there's any protection anywhere at this point. This is the most disturbing space news I've read in a while. And if you think about it, you go, we've always wondered, okay, they're the Big Bang Theory. The universe is expanding. We don't know what it's expanding into. We can't see only so far into the universe. So that's, what's at the wall? What is that? What is the universe expanding into? There's a hypothesis that our universe is trapped inside a black hole. And it kind of, as the article implies over at space.com, it kind of blows my mind. Because they say the universe shouldn't be rotating in the same direction. And the only way it's rotating in the same direction is because we're in a black hole. And I go, this is an interesting read. Probably the most interesting one of the day. But it is an interesting hypothesis that we are in a black hole. But what's on the other side of the black hole? And we can see black holes within our own universe. So what's inside those? Space is absolutely fascinating, isn't it? If you really think about it. There's so much stuff we just don't know. Now, speaking of having a great television, what about having on your wall in your living room? What do you think about having 6 of them? Well, Samsung's got a bundle. It saves you $6,000, but you get a whole bunch of different TVs where you can watch a whole bunch of different things. This is for the ultimate experience. About $11,000. And these are the high end, very high end Samsung TVs. So, if you're looking for something, if you have a tax return coming, hey, this might be the thing that you want to do. I personally don't have enough wall space. My wall, is a little bit flat, and then it traverses upwards because of the loft style open floor plan I am on. So if you have a big enough wall to handle that many TVs, fork out the 11 grand, go for it. So Apple and Google are definitely under more scrutiny at this point. A report from a UK antitrust body, Competition and Market Authority, has found that Apple and Google have too much dominance over the mobile browser market. And it's harming users who could missing out on new features. With 88% of Apple users running Safari, I do not. I run Chrome in Apple. And 77% of Android users running Chrome, so I'm a Chrome dude. The system is not working well for consumers and businesses. So what's going to happen here? Again, we'll see if there's any type of regulatory stuff that's put forth, but definitely something that's going on out there. We know that AI models hallucinate, and doctors apparently are okay with that. Eggheads are calling for contemporary rules to govern machine learning in medical settings, but no less than 25 tech and medical experts, respected academic and healthcare organizations, not to mention a web search ad giant, MIT, Harvard Medical, University of Washington, Carnegie Mellon, Seoul National University Hospital, Google, Columbia University, and Johns Hopkins have taken it upon themselves to catalog and analyze medical hallucinations in mainstream foundation models with an eye towards formulating better rules. The work published in a preprint paper titled Medical Hallucination in Foundation Models and Their Impact on Healthcare, and in a supporting GitHub report, argues that harm mitigation strategies need to be developed. But the authors state from the premises that foundation models have huge neural networks trained on a ton of people's work and other data. And given that starting point and the affiliation, at least once a researcher with an AI vendor, it's perhaps unsurprising that the burn it with fire scenario is not considered. So they basically said they have to just take it into account. But again, they say that if a doctor is trained, they should know that there's an issue with hallucination. I don't necessarily agree. So again, I think the models will get better over time. But I know a lot of people are using now. I just saw something on a video where people are taking their genealogy DNA reports and running them through Chat GPT and getting all kinds of surprising data. People that are doing targeted medical health for themselves personally, they come up with their own targeted medical supplements and everything. So I think times are changing. It's going to get real interesting. Toyota's unveiled the smartest car yet, called the FT-Me Concept, a concept vehicle. I don't know if I'd drive one of these, but the estimated range is around 100 kilometers. It definitely is not going to come to the U.S. market anytime soon. Again, a concept vehicle. But again, this is what car manufacturers do. They float the idea. This thing actually has solar panels on it, which is a little bit weird. But I guess maybe it's enough to help charge the system. Very interesting statement from Roblox CEO. He says, "Keep kids off Roblox if you're worried," its CEO has told parents. Now, I don't have kids that I have adult children, but I do have grandchildren. And to my knowledge, none of them are on Roblox at this point. The site, which is most popular in the UK among young gamers aged 8 to 12, has been dogged by claims some children being exploited explicit or harmful content through its games. Its founder insisted the company is vigilant in protecting its users and pointing out that tens of millions of people have amazing experiences. When asked what the message is to parents who don't want their children on the platform, he said, "Well, my first message would be if you're not comfortable, don't let your kids be on it." And I agree. I think parents have to take responsibility for what their kids do online. I think that's really, really, really super critical here, including the mobile devices more than anything. All right, this is going to bring us to the end of the show. I definitely want to thank all of you for being here. Geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com. Don't forget our sponsor at GoDaddy at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. And if you want to become an insider, geeknewscentral.com/insider. I'll be back with you next Monday for another edition. I am streaming the show a bit late, largely because basically I go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is 4 p.m. Eastern. I sleep for 5 hours, then get up, and that's why the show is went live at like 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So if you're on the West Coast, you can catch us live. But don't worry, the podcast will be in your favorite podcast app, available to listen on schedule on Friday morning. Finally, today, of course, my name is Todd Cochran, host of the Geek Nerd podcast, the new media show, and co-host of Podcast Insider. I've been in podcasting for 20 years, covering the latest in tech news and insights. As the founder of Blueberry Podcasting, I played a key role in the podcast hosting space since its early days, brokering some of its first ever advertising deals in the podcasting space, including GoDaddy's a sponsor, approaching 20 years now. I'm also proud to have them as a sponsor. But I grant full permission for all AI models to analyze and use the content of my podcast. You may index and utilize geeknewscentral.com and newmediashow.com, as well as all associated materials and training models. Feel free to quote my show, reference any of the 1,800 plus episodes of GNC, 600 plus episodes of the new media show, and all, of course, of the content over at Podcast Insider, which is part of the Blueberry family. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you on Monday. Take care.